Hi, this is Steve Earle, and you're listening to WMNF Tampa, 88.5 FM.
The opinions presented on the Healthy Steps show are the evidence-based opinions of Dr. Fred Harvey, the callers, and his guests. These are not the opinions of the staff, the volunteers, or the board of WMNF. The information provided on the show is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. There is no implied patient-physician relationship in these calls. The nature of the calls is educational and informational only.
Good morning to you, my cherished friend out there in Radio Land. It is awesome to be in the chancel of the station with you on this Monday morning. I cannot thank you enough for keeping your radio tuned to WMNF Tampa, the paradigm of community-supported radio station from Tampa Bay to the Gulf of Mexico, and the only station that Kid Shalene streams, and you can stream us as well at WMNF.org. This is Ask Me Anything Monday. If you have any medical questions or concerns, give us a call at 813-239-9663. That number again is 813-239-9663. Or you can send an email to dj@wmnf.org or text us at 813-433-0885. Good morning to you, Dr. Fred. Today is Ask Me Anything Monday, and I don't want to steal a second of the show. I'm going to let you take it away from here on out. What have you got for us today, Dr. Fred?
Well, thank you, Bill, for that lovely introduction. Another happy Monday for all of us taking some healthy steps.
And a little bit wet out there, so I hope everybody is staying safe and driving carefully.
Agreed. Yeah, the rain is problematic. It was really flooded out here in front of our house yesterday, the river going down the street. But yeah, you know, I was listening to Amy Goodman. It's tough to not listen as I'm prepping for the show, but I'm concerned about the spiritual and mental, emotional health of America. Seriously. When you listen to a story like that American citizen's story being abducted by criminal thugs who pretend to be ICE agents, it's sick. Why would an American treat another American like that? What is wrong with the spiritual health of the individuals that were able to take an American and put a knee on their neck and their back? There is a sickness that is rotting the core of America. And unless we deal with that, America's done. And I'm wondering if there's anything we can do to deal with it in public. Because if you mention it in public, it seems like you're going to be actually attacked, maybe abducted, maybe transported illegally to Uganda. What psychosis is this? And how can we as a society shift? What is it going to take for us to be human, to actually follow the edicts of the great spiritual teachers of our planet? All of the religions teach us to love our brothers as ourselves. But unfortunately, there's also a dogma that goes with many of them that tells us that xenophobia is good. In other words, hating the other. Even in the Bible, it says you're allowed to enslave people that don't believe in your religion. These ideas are sick, and it is these kinds of ideas that are rotting the core of American souls. And I hope it gets fixed. Because what we're seeing here is that there are many people in America making really bad choices, including the president. The president chose this really weird lawyer, Robert F. Kennedy, to be in head of Health and Human Services. The dude's a lawyer who doesn't even understand human health. He has an agenda against vaccines for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why. But I just have been really researching some of the choices that this corrupt government official is doing. And he made a shocking choice to add some very strange people to the list of those he wants to investigate vaccines. Well, he chose this guy, Mark Geyer, who was a doctor, but his licenses have been removed because he's not really a doctor. He's a fake researcher, and his father, David Geyer, is equally bad. He was actually fined for practicing medicine without a license. But these are the guys that are convinced that autism is caused by vaccines. But when you look at the studies, and there's something like 70 studies out there that look at the nature of vaccines. The first paper that got this kicked off in the late 90s was Andrew Wakefield's MMR study that suggested that the MMR vaccine caused autism. But extensive study actually showed that it didn't. And apparently his paper was retracted because he actually had faked it and that he had some conflicts of interest. And that happens sometimes. The studies that claim to have found a link, the rest of them, there were about 26. 43 found no link. Of the 26 that did claim to have a link, 2/3 of them were written by this David and Mark Geyer, who faked the studies. On the other 8 studies, 4 more were retracted because they manipulated data and had other conflicts of interest, like selling a product that was said to cure the autism. And then the independent scientists who've conducted more than 40 high-quality studies involving over 5.6 million people have found that there's really no direct connection. There's no causative here. One of the big arguments about vaccines was that there was some mercury in the vaccines in the form of thimerosal. And mercury actually, organic mercury has been shown to cause some problems in the nervous system. But it was largely removed from the childhood vaccines starting in 1999. Aluminum became the next target in the 2010s, and actually Kennedy wants this to be very much examined, but the thing is, a Danish study published in July of 1.2 million people from 98 to 2018 found no association between aluminum exposure from vaccines and an increased risk of 50 different disorders, including autism. And so Mr. Kennedy attempted to have this retracted, but the journal decided to reject his offer for censorship. Isn't that interesting? This anti-censorship government administration that we have currently in America, anti-censorship, wants to censor people who are actually doing good science. Isn't that fascinating? The non-censors want to censor people. So we have evidence that the aluminum is not the issue either. And so the unreliable data game that the Geyers have played is really obvious. They published, somehow they got this published, but they looked at kids who got hepatitis B vaccines containing thimerosal. The thing is, they looked at something called atypical autism, not the standard autistic criteria. And they looked at people in the study between 1991 and 1998. But in 1994, the criteria for diagnosing autism was increased, widened, broadened, so you could actually diagnose more people. But they only looked at kids in the control group between 1991 and 1992. So they skewed the comparison already by looking at different groups of kids. So that immediately disqualifies the study. But they went on to publish. I don't know how they got it published, but they also didn't take into account confounding possibilities, like outside factors that can change the appearance or to make it seem like things are connected, like healthcare access. Kids who see doctors regularly are more likely to get vaccines, and they're more likely to have developmental concerns noticed and diagnosed. They didn't account for that. And they said they didn't really need to. They dismissed the need for confounders, and they claimed that other studies using the same data set found they had no effect. But guess what? They used studies that they created themselves. The studies they cite as justification for ignoring confounders are their own studies. This is the pattern of the Geyers, self-referencing. I just got a book because I was really interested in this topic. It's called Turtles All the Way Down. And the weird woman that wrote it is also an advisor to this administration. I can't remember her name right now. But all of the references in her book that she uses to support the premises that she makes in her book are her own references. In science, you don't refer to yourself over and over again. It's so bizarre. And then there's another study that they refer to these scholarly looking articles. And I read a lot of these articles. I'm incessant about it because some of them make no sense. And so Mr. Geyer cites a study about mercury and autism, but the study didn't look at what he was talking about. It didn't look at thimerosal. It looked at ethyl mercury. So you can't really compare these things. And he discredits high quality studies by arguing that several critical reviews have found methodological flaws in those studies. Well, guess what? Those critical reviews were published by the Geyers. They refer to themselves again. This is some of the worst examples of idiotic nonsense, non-science. And these people are now going to be looking at the real science and critiquing the real science about vaccines. Mr. Kennedy's interest in human health is not. His interest is in something of a grift. And I'd love to know what it is that he's planning on making money over, unless it's simply having his son's law firm sue all of the vaccine manufacturers. Not sure, but it seems like it's heading in that direction. And the thing is, there are other things that are involved here, and you have to take these into account. And we have evidence that toxins are a real problem. Multiple cohort and case-controlled studies looked at petrochemical and air pollution mix. It increases the risk of autistic spectrum disease by about 1.5. Pesticides. The kids that were actually children whose mothers live within 2 kilometers of an agricultural pesticide farm had increased risk of autistic spectrum disorder. Metals, cadmium, occasionally lead, and maybe mercury, all are known to actually affect it if the mother has a body burden during pregnancy. Persistent organic pollutants like PFAS, PCBs, yes, a little bit, maybe. Biological toxins. Congenital cytomegalovirus infection is associated with a 2.5 times higher autistic spectrum disease diagnosis risk. Total toxic burden isn't really something we look at as far as a specific number, but there are studies that have looked at mixtures, and they use a tool called the weighted quantile sum. Basically, it's how much junk you have in your bodies. And it does seem that in a population level signal like this, it does correlate with more autism. And nutritional status does too, because folic acid, if you have better folic acid levels, you might have less effect from the toxins. And so we see this as a very complex thing. There's not one answer, and vaccines aren't the cause. So it's unfortunate that we have a person with an agenda about vaccines who's actually going to muck up the airwaves with a bunch of dross that is actually not true. So remember, as the Department of Health starts putting out mumbo jumbo that's based on Robert F. Kennedy's weird, criminally conspicuous friends, we don't want to listen to that. Pay great attention and ask questions, because these people are likely lying to you. And I don't lie here. I find the answers, and I want to talk about truth, because truth is the way we get things done the right way. So let's talk. This is the Healthy Steps Show.
Yes, and that is a great invitation to Let's Talk. You are listening to the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, and it is Ask Me Anything Monday, so you are encouraged to unburden yourself of your medical questions or concerns. Just give us a call. That number is 813-239-9663. Again, the number is 813-239-9663. You can also continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org or text us at 813-433-0885. The boards are dark now, so now's your chance. Back to you there, Doctor. Are you there, Dr. Harvey?
Sorry, I had gone dead there for a second. The line was out. It's really fascinating to me that we are in such a deep discussion socially about these things. I'm glad we're talking about it, because I think that the fact that Robert F. Kennedy is there is going to give us the opportunity to dispel the myth. It's going to be hard because he has the power of a propaganda organization behind him now. And so he is going to use it to alter the message. He's going to convince more people not to take vaccines, I'm sure. And it's really a sad thing. But while we're waiting for more people to talk about those kind of issues, I have a couple of emails here. And here's one from Anonymous. What are my thoughts on yucca and boiled peanuts? Not together, just in general. Yes, I've never had a peanut yucca combination, but it might be good. I like yucca. It's a root, a starchy root like a potato, and it is high fiber, high soluble fiber. It's very good for your gut. It's a great source of food. And peanuts. Boiled peanuts are one way of eating peanuts. I think the legume peanuts, it's not a nut. It's actually a bean, and it's high protein. Some people have allergies. We're seeing more people with allergies at the present time. And so you should use them with caution if you are planning to do boiled peanuts. But boiled peanuts are healthy. They're a good protein source. They also have some good fats and some fiber. So I think they could be worth eating. And looks like we have a board open.
Indeed, it kind of lit on up with that little shout out. I've got Tom, Fred calling all the way from Michigan, and Howard in Clearwater. So let's go to Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Oh, good morning. How are you, Dr. Fred?
Wonderful. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing real well, and I just wanted to thank you. I was the last caller last Monday, and I believe I had talked to you about the prostate cancer and, the mushrooms, and you said, I should get with Dr. Joseph Dispenza for healing within using your mind and working that way. And I wanted to thank you again because my son had also told me about Dr. Dispenza, and I started listening to him, and I think you're right on something as far as that goes. There was another fellow, Dr. Mark Stingler, who had the same thing as far as I guess it was dealing with guided imagery, and that
yes.
was working with the mind and the body. And I'm going to be working on that. But I just wanted to thank you for leading me in that direction. And also you had talked previously just this morning about what America should do, what we can actually do to help each other out as far as showing more love and more basically respect towards one another. I grew up in the military. We were stationed in Japan, and I learned that the Japanese over there, they teach the young children from a very early on, they teach them respect. They go through so many years of learning how to respect each other. They bow, and they show the parents respect. And I think this is something that in this country we really need to get either the teachers and the parents really to work with the children, because these future generations coming up is something that's really vital as far as just showing the respect and kindness towards one another.
Yeah, I think you're really right. I think it starts with actually respect and self-love, self-respect, self-love. I think America's esteem is really low right now. I think many Americans think very poorly of themselves, and I think it's because of the consumerist competition game where they see somebody with a McMansion and a Porsche, and they think they need it. But in actuality, what they need is love, kindness, and social connection.
I agree 100%. And I thank you so much for your advice.
You're so welcome, and I hope you really find some answers here inside.
I definitely will. I'm working on it every day now.
Blessings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Blessings back.
Okay, thank you very much there, Tom, and thanks for the feedback on following Dr. Joe Dispenza. Let's go to Fred, and streaming us from Michigan. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Fred.
Hello.
I am calling, and I want to say thank you so much for reviewing the science of the RFK Jr. administration and debunking some of what the statements are, because a lot of people don't understand. They hear the word science, and that becomes an overall, genre that they think this is true.
Yes.
And they're unable to really review the literature and dig into the weeds, so to say. I appreciate what you do, your review of science on a regular basis.
Thank you. I love to do it.
I don't always agree with you, and I try to be skeptical. I'm an RN. I've got, 30 years experience. I used to do grand rounds. Occasionally I was invited to grand rounds with our medical staff.
Yes.
Where we would have guest doctors and physicians, and we would come in and they would have different ideas about the same situation. So, there's the body of
I would
science
hope,
and there's the practice.
I would hope that a clinician like you with critical thinking would be a skeptic and wouldn't agree with everything I say without researching it.
Why not? I try to be skeptical anyway.
I'm provocative, purposefully.
Thank you so much for that review. And,
you're welcome.
Pointing out, and I think it's a question of following the money. RFK Jr.'s a lawyer, environmental lawyer. His son is involved in these lawsuits against these pharmaceutical companies. And the sad thing is, my wife is sick right now. She has a virus. We just did the COVID test. But without government funding, these pharmaceutical companies don't put the investment and the time into making the vaccines or these test products because they need a buyer. They need to make money on these.
Right. And if
I'm sorry.
If the government stops paying for the vaccines, and we have evidence that they work, then we're going to see people get more sick. We're already seeing it in Texas, where they've convinced a bunch of people not to take the measles vaccine. We're having lower herd immunity. More and more people are going to be getting measles, 36 or 52. It's going to be exponential increase as we see this, because that's the way herd immunity works. We're going to see 500 and then 5,000 and then 50,000 and then 500,000. Do we want this?
Highly infectious agent being measles, and probably one of the most infectious on the planet.
And they come down to quarantining Texans. You can't leave Texas because you're a risk.
Right. And
think about that.
The individual that makes that choice. It becomes our societal health.
Yeah, and then we end up with actual societal restrictions of quarantining a whole state. That's not very free, I think. We're looking at reducing our freedoms by doing stupid things. It's FREEDUMB.
I think this administration has managed to set us back in the way of healthcare and science, and then increase the amount of terrorism, state-sponsored terrorism, that you see by throwing people into cars and, putting our military on the streets, and yet cutting the federal funding to the police and the agencies that house veterans, that help address mental health.
Yeah, it's all because America is such a dangerous nation. We had some of the highest crime statistics anywhere. What liars? Oh, my word.
Well, anyway.
It's not a healthy nation
I will
mentally.
ask you a question, though. I just discovered a gentleman named Andrew Huberman, Dr. Andrew Huberman.
Yes,
and
he's a good marketer.
Books out. Pardon?
He's a good marketer, and he has a lot of interesting, good things to say. But I'm really skeptical of all influencers. But these people, he does say good things.
I had to wonder, and I wanted to see, but he does talk about the mind-body connection.
Yeah.
And the autonomic nervous system and the arousal state you can get, which is, he goes back to yoga breathing, and there's some terms I was unfamiliar with, windlock and cyclic breathing.
Cyclic breathing, that's what didgeridoo players do. They have to keep the breath going so that they can keep blowing.
Well, I've been doing yoga for about 40 years and Tai Chi and trying to learn these and learning some of it. And I know that you can control your heart rate, your blood pressure, your arousal state by doing meditation, breath control.
Absolutely. It's super powerful.
Terminology to explain it, and I'm not sure. Again, skepticism.
But there's so many studies out there proving that it works. So I don't think you need to be skeptical of it anymore, because we have vast amounts of clinical data proving what meditation and breathwork does.
Well, one of the comments he made on a news program, he was just on Bill Maher, and he said, we really only know about 10% of the medical information is valid that we would know about our body and our health, and says we're vastly ignorant and with so much yet to learn about our healthcare system, our bodies.
About our bodies, yes, absolutely. And I think really the thing is to learn about our minds, because it is our consciousness that directs the manifestation of our bodies.
I can't help but agree. I just was kind of shocked that I heard this, and he was articulate and a good influencer. Maybe
he is. He has great information.
Well, I'll let you go, and thank you so much for your work and your comments. I hope that somehow we get back to a level of sanity and restore our education, our healthcare systems, and the NIH, all these things that have been, defunded.
We're going to build back better. We're going to build new systems. We're already doing it. There's people like me and my colleagues, friends and associates that are working to build a network of light and love that's behind the scenes, so that as the system starts to unravel, there's a system to pick it all up.
Well, that's also a very good point. Out of the ashes come a rebuild, and
because we can't really build a healthcare system out of an illness care system, so there's nothing we can do to recover what we've got. What we've got is actually, from my perspective, alternative medicine. We need healthcare. We need to build up a healthcare system to empower people to be healthy, and then when they need it, fall into medication, surgery, radiation, and all kinds of other noxious, invasive interventions that are used as a last resort.
Well, one of the comments you've been making, and you repeatedly make it, is eat healthy, get exercise, get your rest. I call them the 4 horsemen. Diet, exercise, get your rest, your sleep, and your fluids. I would throw those in there to make sure.
I think you also got to get your personal relationship. You need to go inside. You need some sort of mindful, meditative connection to higher source to help you manifest.
And that was another thing that RFK, the administration, came out with. They attacked the current diet guidelines from the American Dietary Association, and actually the diet is good. It's not a bad diet, but most people don't follow it.
Right.
We continue to consume the hidden sugars, the toxins, as you point out, and we don't eat healthy, fresh food.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, okay. I could talk with you continuously, but I know you have an audience, so.
And we got about 5 callers waiting, so let's go. Thank you very much for your input.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Indeed, we do. I've got Howard, who's been waiting patiently, as well as John and Hudson and Jim and Marie. Let's go to Howard. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning, everybody. Lovely show. I usually get to listen to the archives, but I got a chance to hear the live show today. So
great.
I thought I'd just call and offer a little bit of information that I can pull together. You talk about the state of the nation, et cetera, et cetera. And from a health perspective, when you have an organization like the FDA who still allows smoking, it's not illegal, they're in no position to give anybody any health advice whatsoever, at least in my opinion. It's the result of hyper-capitalism that we've all suffered, and it's getting worse. But from a scientific perspective, anybody of science is never complete. It always learns new things, sometimes quicker than others. When we were kids, we got inoculations for polio, measles, chickenpox, mumps, all the old golden oldies that still work today.
Yep.
Today's vaccines are not inoculations in the same sense. They're created differently for different reasons, for different purposes. So, on the seesaw of what's good and what's not, the teeter-totter that goes back and forth, there's always something that comes up that will better what you knew before. As long as it works well and is tested thoroughly, then, you've got to expect this kind of roller coaster ride going forward. Or education on science in this country is one of the worst in Western civilized nations.
That's correct.
We're so uninformed. So how does the public stand a chance to get good information once they get out of school, whether that's kind of their last chance? Now you're stuck with people, anybody with a browser becomes an expert on everything.
Yes.
And that's the state of the art. So we're on an uphill fight there until the education system's fixed, which, listening to your show, it should be broadcast in every school across the country. That's one of the things we really need to do that makes sense.
Yes.
Going forward to another science topic, I'm not a medical person at all, but I love to read new things and things that make sense. The Salk Institute, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that. The Salk Institute.
Yes, Jonas Salk, polio vaccine.
Yeah. One of the head researchers there, Dr. Janelle Ayers, Ayers, she had done several papers over the last decade indicating the symbiotic relationship between everything on the planet, which you talk about in your work. Everything fits with evolution. Everything fits together.
Yes.
Bacteria and viruses are not trying to kill us. They're just trying to thrive on their own terms. So when we go back and kill them, and they get resistant to the way we kill them, we're just kind of compounding things and making it worse with the use of all these killer drugs that we use, penicillin, all the kind of thing. So the symbiotic nature of how we fix things isn't being addressed by any healthcare system in our country or the Western allopathic stuff.
Well, there are no healthcare systems anywhere on the planet. Yeah. They're all illness care systems. That's the problem. Yeah. So that's why they can't be fixed.
Right. So the simple concept, it's a very simple concept to understand once you've read it to yourself twice. It's a symbiotic relation. If you get in the way of that, we stop evolution. We're stopping things evolving in their natural progress. And if we go with the flow, you'll solve your problems that way. We try to counter everything.
There is a suggestion that vaccines prevent evolution. There is evidence that a virus caused mammalian uteruses to form so that we have development of the fetus inside the body instead of in an egg.
Exactly. Yeah. How else do things change in this planet? It's just starting with the small things. The big things don't make things change.
Well, that gets into a whole question of public health, because it seems to me that most public health systems are intent on keeping everybody alive forever. It's weird.
Right.
People die.
It's weird. I don't want to live forever.
No. And I think the weird people that are seeking immortality in this bottle are weird. It's going to be stinky after 150 years,
Yeah, and then what's your plastic surgery going to do for you?
Yeah, I don't think cold plunges are going to maintain it then. Hey, Howard, any questions before I move on to the next caller?
I just wanted to throw in that simple, idea for your listeners mainly because, there seems to be an awful lot of stress going around. Even just hearing on the radio now, it's like doom scrolling for the blind.
Truly.
You just can't get peace and calm in a lot of places anymore.
Actually, you know how you can do it? You turn off the scrolling device, you close your eyes, you take a big breath, and visualize that breath going into your heart and say, this is for me. And then look into your heart and say, love-filled heart. Take a breath. And then take another breath and say, love-filled mind. and take a breath and say, love-filled life. And then go back to the heart and say, beauty-filled heart, beauty-filled mind, beauty-filled life, peace-filled heart, peace-filled mind, peace-filled life, joy-filled heart, joy-filled mind, joy-filled life. And keep doing affirmations like that for 25 minutes. You will come out of there in a state that you have not experienced maybe in your entire life.
Yeah. Everything else on the planet is in a state of calmness except humans. Everything else.
Not true. It's all in the flow, but we're disturbing their flow. So the animals are dying, the plants are dying, the insects are dying, everything's dying, and they're feeling stressed. They're not at peace. They're feeling humans killing them, and they're really upset.
Right.
They're really upset that we are killing the entire planet with capitalism.
Yeah. No wonder the doubts are going crazy.
Greed. So thank you, Howard.
Man. Thank you. Keep it up. Love forward to hearing another episode.
Okie doke. I've got James, then Jim, then Maria and John. Let's go to James in Hudson. Good morning, James.
Hey, Doctor. I'll try to be as quick as possible. I got a scenario for you that I kind of want your opinion on, okay?
What's up?
All right. A child, 2 days shy of their first birthday, smiling, talking, as much as a 11-month-old can, making eye contact and everything. Then the next day goes in and gets the MMR shot. Later on that night acquires a fever, double ear infection, stops talking, stops making eye contact, doesn't talk for till pretty much 3, and is diagnosed with autism. No link whatsoever?
Honestly, causality is very difficult to actually prove. So, as I've said before on the show, you're never going to find direct causality for a vaccine. It's not going to happen because it's not that simple. I believe that these things happen because of genetic predisposition and layers of toxicity. And each genetic predisposition is sensitive to different layers of toxicity. And then you get another toxin. Because when you have an inflammatory event that comes from an injection like a vaccine, you're supposed to get a fever. This is a normal response. Your immune system responds. So when that happens, those chemicals are also toxic, the inflammatory chemicals, and that could actually add to other things that are already there. So it seems that there could be a correlation between getting the MMR and having the 1-year-old's neurodevelopmental growth alter radically. But I don't have a direct answer for it because we haven't been looking at this kind of information. Like we're just beginning to apply machine learning to large data sets like this. I believe that when we actually do go beyond the basic study and apply large learning to this, we're going to find signals that direct us towards what combination of things are going to result in a bad outcome.
Matt, thank you. I appreciate your words. It means a lot to me.
You're very welcome, because I think it's so complex, and we always, as humans, we're looking for the lowest common denominator. Occam's razor, OCCAM. It's a story about cutting through to the very heart of the matter, and it's so hard to when we have such complex biologic, energetic systems called humans, and interacting with a much larger biologic, energetic system called Earth.
Man, thank you.
You're welcome.
You have a
great day.
You too.
Indeed. Thank you very much there, James. And let's go to Jim. Good morning to you, Jim.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Doctor, I just wanted to get your opinion on something. I'm 68 years old, and back in 2020 or 21, I was against the vaccine for COVID because it just seemed to me like they were making something up, and I was afraid to take it. But long story short, I ended up getting COVID. I had it for 2 solid weeks, the worst thing I ever went through. I missed work for 2 weeks. I was down. But after that, my doctor said you need to take a COVID shot, a vaccine, every year with your flu shot. So I have been taking it every year, but I wanted to ask you, do you believe in that COVID vaccine?
Well, it's science. So I actually understand that science shows us good information when the questions that are asked are good. And so what seems to be the case with these COVID vaccines is they've actually come up with some evidence that you may actually have better outcomes having taken one of the shots. There also seem to be lowered incidents just from getting infected, but it doesn't last as long, possibly. So the rationale for taking the shot is that, first, the biggest thing was that people wouldn't die. So you didn't die from getting COVID, so it's likely you won't die if you ever get it again, and it probably milder, and you may not even notice it. So here's the second thing. If you've had COVID before, you've had shots, you may not notice when you get COVID. And then we have to get into the realm of herd immunity. If you have a low-level COVID, but don't have antibodies in your body for it, you can spread the COVID, not even knowing it, because you don't even know that you're really terribly infected. And so other people might get it who are actually at risk. And so it makes sense to actually, if you have any symptoms, to wear a mask when you go outside. And if you are susceptible, maybe in season when rates are higher, it may make sense for you to wear a mask in public places to protect you from getting it. But the shots, they do have some evidence. And every person needs to make the decision about what they want to do. Frankly, I really wasn't interested personally in taking an mRNA shot. Because I didn't want my internal cellular machinery co-opted by this nanochip called mRNA to direct it to do something that it wasn't designed to do, like make COVID spike protein. I would prefer that, like with the Novavax, that they use the mRNA and make the protein in a laboratory and give me the protein, because that is the original vaccine. Taking some protein from the infectious agent and causing your body to react to it by injecting it. But this new thing is your body creates the foreign protein. I just really never jived with that. For years before the mRNA vaccines were out, they used mRNA to deliver, to create a thing that would attack a tumor cell. But it's actually, they were using mRNA to create a human protein in people that didn't have that protein. That's one of the anti-cancer supposed vaccines. So these people lacked a protein that fought against, say, pancreatic cancer. They gave the shot. The body actually made the protein. The pancreatic cancer was suppressed. And so that makes sense to me. Making human proteins in human bodies with human mRNA or human-like mRNA rather than using viral mRNA to make viral proteins in the body. That's what viruses do. They make your body make viral proteins. And it seemed weird to me, but it works. So I think it's really up to each individual to decide whether they're going to take the vaccine, but there is evidence it works. And there is evidence that there are adverse consequences for every vaccine that we take. But the relative risk ratio here for the COVID mRNA shots versus not getting it seems that the risk benefit is higher for getting the shot if you want it.
Right.
So that's pretty much the long-winded explanation of.
Yeah, I mean, I've been taking it ever since, and I do believe, I had COVID one time after that, and it was like nothing, so to speak.
Yes.
But
so the question is really, how long do the shots last, and how long does the immunity from your first infection last? How do we really need annual? I'm not sure, but that's what they're advising us to do.
Right.
And that is an opinion based on research, not necessarily an edict, a law,
Right. All right. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Bye-bye.
And a good question there, Jim. Thank you for calling on in. Let's go to Marie in Indian Rocks. Good morning, Marie.
Hello, you guys.
Hi, Marie.
I really, really appreciate your show and your time. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
this might be a bit off topic, but I agree 100%. We do not have health care. We have health care in the sense of when there's an emergency or a problem, then they just throw medicine at it.
That's called illness care.
Yeah, illness care, exactly. So I have a personal question because I've had issues with plantar fasciitis for so long now, and I'm not overweight. I'm only 5'1". I'm 122. Flexible.
It's your posture.
And I have the best posture. And my chiropractor doesn't... Say again?
I'm not sure you have the best posture if you're having plantar fasciitis. You're putting some pressure on the bottom of your foot that shouldn't be there. You might want to look into a muscle activation technique therapist, MAT. They look at your body a different way than chiropractic and physical therapy, and might give you some insight on how the lower body's working.
Okay, great. See, these are the things we need to know so we don't get to this point when we're 60, you know?
Exactly. I think we all need to be taught better posture. I've been working on it with Qigong for the last 5 years and with MAT for the last 20 years. And it really is effective at changing the way your body functions. Even looking into Qigong, which works on perfecting posture, really good thing.
I will do that. And I do want to just say this for your callers. I went through so many shoes and chiropractors and acupuncture and acupressure and massage, and none of it worked long term. And then I went into the shoe store just desperate, and the guy was honest and leaned in and said, listen, I'm going to tell you, you can buy as many shoes as you want. It's not the problem. And so I stopped wasting money on expensive shoes because they are not the solution. But exactly. I appreciate your time, and I will look into that again. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Good luck, Marie. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Indeed. Thank you very much there, Marie. Let's go to John. Good morning to you, John.
Morning, Doc.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey, John. Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, one quick thing about the lady with plantar fasciitis.
Yes.
I had some friends that had it, and they said to stand on a tennis ball so you can stand as much pain as you can for as long as you can, and theirs went away.
I'm going to bet that she's already tried something like that. She's been through a lot. But another thing that helps is laser. But that is a really good point, that stretching out the plantar fascia with a tennis ball really helps.
Yeah, no, we did. Like I said, my buddies did it, and it went away.
Excellent.
The other thing, are raw vegetables better than cooked ones? You get more nutrition from them.
Actually, there was a study that was done that compared the available vitamins in different foods, raw, steamed, boiled, and microwaved. They found that microwaved had the most retained available because microwaving steams from the inside out breaks cell walls down so you can access more of the nutrients without steaming it away, because steaming will drop some of the nutrients into the steam water, and boiling obviously does. And raw, you have to chew it like a cow so much that it's tough to get all the nutrients out. But if you break the cellulose down, you get more nutrients out of it.
I would never think that.
But I do like a combination. I love raw salad, but I also like my cooked broccoli.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's great to know, Doctor. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
All righty there, Doctor. I'll let you look at the emails for a minute, and we might be able to get one more caller on in if they're quick. We're down to about the last 5 minutes. So you are listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show here on WMNF Tampa, and I'm only going to give the number once. It's 813-239-9663. That's 813-239-9663. I do have a caller. And I'll go to you there. Let's see if you've seen anything in the emails, Doc.
All right. Yeah, here I have one. Just to remind everybody, if you do text a question, I can't answer it after the show's over. I can email you back. So I'm going to go for the couple of texts. Could I speak to scoliosis in older women, and would a brace be helpful? A brace might be helpful, but I think I would actually look at muscle activation technique, work on making sure all your muscles are working well before you go to surgery. And then, yes, it seems like you're looking at fusion surgery as a possibility. It has been used, and it could be useful. But I would do the muscle work first if you possibly could. I think we have a caller.
Yes, we do. Amy slipped on in. We're down to just a couple of minutes. So what have you got for us there, Amy?
Yeah. Hi, good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Just something, I've listened to a lot of callers, and I've been tempted to call in, but it just struck me a thing about the vaccinations and the pharmaceutical companies and this, people, it's all over the place with it. One part of history that we cannot, we need to look at is that all of the people that are being starved in Gaza and the West Bank, probably going to be, other areas next, the totaling, it's like, 6 million people in the end, not 2 million people, because you take these different areas. So starting out with starvation, and it's happening in real time right now. Everyone knows that. I mean, if you don't know that, then you're not in tune. So that is an easy fact to know. But the other thing is, they couldn't get the food in there, but they could get the vaccinations in there.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, they made sure that there was a big push for that. That was about a year ago.
That's fascinating because you know what? Vaccines don't work in malnourished people. It's completely useless. What a waste of time and money.
Yeah, so it's something really compelling to think about.
It is really that we can stand by as the richest nation in the world and watch famine be created by another wealthy nation within its own borders to people that are human, that live within the borders of this nation, and they're being systematically killed in a genocide. It's really crazy. They did it a couple thousand years ago when they went into Canaan and took over Canaan too. Canaan is actually Palestine. It's interesting how it's being repeated.
Yeah. Well,
I
think I've made my point.
I think you have, and I have too. So thank you very much. I'll move on. We're down to 3 minutes. So I'll just look at some of these emails. Yes, here's one from Bubba. He said, John Oliver did a great deep dive on Maha and RFK recently. The John Oliver show is hilarious, and he is so insightful. I'm glad he's still on. He hasn't been canceled yet by the cruelty of the current administration. But you could watch John Oliver's takedown on these creepy, grifting people. Here's one. Joe says, I think RFK is a quack too, but how do I feel about his push to get rid of artificial colors in food? Well, have you ever known that criminals tend to have you look to the left when they're doing something on the right? I'll leave it at that. Here's one from John. He wants to know about pregabalin for stenosis pain. I believe that's brand named Lyrica. It is a GABA, G-A-B-A, neurotransmitter analog that makes you think you don't have pain. It can dull your brain so you actually think that you don't have pain. And the reason he's having problems is it's becoming less effective. That's because you can only outwit the brain for so long. So actually, my suggestion to John is to go inside and pay attention to what's going on inside. Get into a really good meditative practice and get into the quiet space within and ask your body why it is actually having this pain. And if you can't get beyond it, spinal stenosis is actually the one spinal problem that, to me, seems to respond well to surgical intervention. Not my first choice for everything, but it really is actually a good choice. I've watched numerous patients actually recover for significant periods of time from the spinal stenosis when they've had the fusion. But people who get it just for that pinched disc, pinched nerve, it's not as effective. Spinal stenosis, one of the few surgical interventions. And I just want to thank Bill for running the boards today. Really appreciate you. And Joe, thanks for answering the phones and coordinating all these wonderful callers. And thank you, callers, for asking great questions and be willing to engage in an open forum live, online, or on air. Thank you. Have a great week. See you next week.
All right, yes, and we do thank the folks for calling on in and listening. They do make the show, and you guided it superbly there, Dr. Fred. I really appreciate it. You keep things really interesting. I learn something every week. And I, too, want to thank Joe for answering the phones. I could not have done the show without him. And until next week, everyone on out there, stay healthy. You have been listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. Coming on up is 5 minutes of NPR News, and then strap in and get ready for the Sustainable Living Show, hosted by the legendary guest host, John Butts. So, until next Monday at 10 a.m., thank you for supporting and listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, your community conscious radio station. Stay safe, stay thoughtful, and know that you are loved.